So episode 3.
Yes.
Also, we will not be doing the superhero showdown. Episode 3 opens in to a flashback once again of Cassian climbing into a ship.
Yeah, like the most incompetent little child ever.
I mean, he is an incompetent little child.
Yeah, he's just like the most, like, no confidence in this child whatsoever with what they're doing.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got to remember he clearly doesn't know anything about space travel and stuff.
Yeah, but...
Anyway, it kind of looks like an Imperial ship inside, and I'm like really worried about potential timeline issues at this point. I've actually written in my notes, I'm like, timeline issues potentially.
I don't think it'll be anything that messes with the timeline.
No, I mean it does get fixed later on in the episode, but I try not to add in my notes because I want to like remember how I was perceiving it as it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Cassian then sees his reflection in like the really sci-fi like metals and stuff, and just starts going ham destroying shit. Like he's never seen his own reflection.
So, you see some more bodies that are all yellow, which kind of leads to this whole like some sort of poisoning bomb or whatever went off inside. And then he ends up in some like more central control room where he sees his own reflection, which I think confuses him a bit. I don't think him smashing stuff is linked with him seeing his reflection. I think he sees his reflection as just like a weird moment for him. But I think he notices, I'm going to guess, the way the equipment looks is going to probably match all the equipment that's in the mining facility. And if he's seen that, he instantly associates it with the same thing and potentially the death of wherever all the adults are.
Okay, so I go slightly different here.
Okay.
I'm thinking, yes, the reflection confused him. He's never seen his reflection before. And kind of like a dog when they see their reflection in water. At first, he just kind of taps it to see if it changes.
Yeah.
And then it breaks. And then all of a sudden, he's just overcome with the rage of his tribe being hurt and stuff. And just kind of has a bit of like a teenager does, like emotionally just furious and just smashing stuff out of pure rage. I don't think he actually knows what he's looking at.
I think he associates, because it's tech that obviously is like above what they have, to him, he associates that the same as the mining facility.
Maybe very possible. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah. Then we go.
So we then come back to the present day with Cassian going to visit Brasso, his friend
who's
who he
about
set
to
the alibi up with. Yes. And basically he's just going, I've got the money I owe you sorted.
Oh no, he's on the scrapyard, sorry.
Yeah. It's gonna be with Marva. I'm going away for a while. I will come back. But please keep an eye on her. So you can see Cassian definitely views her as a maternal figure that he cares about. And you know that Brasso is one of the few friends he does truly care about because he's making sure he gets his money back.
And Brasso obviously has some care for Marva as well.
Yeah,
Brasso some link there.
Yeah, and Brasso is definitely concerned about why Cassian's just disappearing.
Yeah. He doesn't know where he's going.
Yeah. So we then find out that the stranger has finally arrived into the city.
Yes. He's
and then we also find out we then also find out that the stranger is in fact Bix's buyer.
Yeah, though I kind of had put this together by this point.
I was assuming that's what it was going to be, but this is the point where they make that obvious. That's what he's there for. Bix is pretty panicky. She's like, shit, because obviously this is the person who essentially makes her money.
Yeah, she didn't want to ruin that relationship.
Exactly. So she's like, shit, I couldn't get the message to you in time. Corpo's going to be here soon. If you want to delay this and get gone, I get that. I'm trying to give you as much notice as possible. And he just doesn't seem to really give a fuck. He's like, oh, it'll be fine.
It's
It's all good.
almost, you get the sense that he was sort of aware, because this is a bulletin that went out everywhere. So
Mhm.
he must know of Cassian, because he's obviously
Cassian.
Cassian. He's obviously brought her things to sell to him a few times
Yeah.
before, and she's probably just mentioned him as a like the person that gets her the stuff.
Yeah.
So he obviously knows of him, and I wonder if he'd put two and two together and kind of knew the situation that was at hand and was like, well, this is more important anyway.
Yeah, quite possibly. Ba, 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 ba.
Oh,
So then we see the corpos. Oh no, you're right. That last bit did have the really cringe speech.
yeah, it must have
That's
done.
that's my bad.
No, it's fine.
Back in
I couldn't
episode
remember if
two.
it was at the end of episode 2 or the
Yeah,
start
for
of
some
this.
reason I thought there was another corpo bit in between, but there doesn't look like there is.
But the soldier
Anyway,
guy, yeah, the soldier guy gave her like a great speech, and then our corpo guy,
yeah, gave a really shit one because he thinks he can be a leader, but he can't. And then the soldier guy's still like, "Well done, that was really inspirational."
well, it's the typical like the soldier guy obviously thinks this guy is kind of
An officer, so he
got
must be good.
got more going on than he's fronted well enough that he's fooled him at first. And then I think this is the point where he sees through, oh, this guy's kind of like all bark, no bite at the moment. He's kind of faking it till he makes it, sort of thing.
Exactly.
He does this terrible speech, which even he knows was a bad speech because he didn't realize that was a thing he was going to have to do. And then the soldier's like, well, I've kind of got to still make it seem like he's the leader here. So I'll start the applause for everyone and make sure that everyone knows to nod, smile, and yes, make him feel like he's in charge.
But then we get a flashback that starts with B.
Yes.
And at first I didn't realize it was a flashback. I was like, wow, his paint job looks really fresh all of a sudden.
Oh, I picked up on the fact that I was like, oh, that B looks so clean. So this is
I
obviously
thought you were gonna say young then.
no.
B
He's
looks
like
so
he looks
young.
fresh on new droid. Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is flashback.
And then we get like a pan out and up, and we see a young Marva.
Yes, with some associate.
Yeah, it did say his name. I forget. And it looks like she's like a scavenger.
Yeah.
And she's heard about this ship crashing, and she's like got to get in there before the Republic, and grab any goodies.
Yeah.
And her partner's like, look, we've got plenty of stuff. Let's just get out of here. She's like, no, there could be more good stuff. What do you mean?
Yeah, we still got time. And then they hear smashing.
Cassian beating the shit out of the monitors and like the dials and stuff.
Her friend's like, we don't know what the fuck that could be. Because one, it could be a creature off the planet. Because they don't know this planet. Like, something could have got inside. Two, they don't know why it crashed. So it could be something that caused it. They're like, he's like, well, I want to fucking go and face whatever this could be. Turns out it's just a little child getting out his teenage angst.
And like, although we have seen that they're definitely a little bit primitive on Kanari, I think the primitiveness was really shown with them not even having an idea what the fuck he was trying to say, and his reaction to seeing B. He saw this little droid just like appear in between their legs, and he was like, what the actual fuck is that?
Yeah. And then not understanding what they're saying to him, just like freaking out at them.
At which point the flashback ends. Oh no, she gasses him, doesn't she?
She sedates him to chill him out.
Yeah. At which point the flashback ends with corpos getting off their ship on Ferrex.
Yep, different landing spots. There was showed obviously one of them in the scrapyard. They landed in some like slightly more industrial area.
Yeah.
I forget what the third one was.
We then get another shot of the stranger walking through town.
Yeah.
And then that shot kind of had nothing to it. It was just, I think, to show him traveling towards the meeting with Cassian, and they were just like trying to interlay that footage to show the progression.
Yeah.
We then get like the corpos like spreading out through the city and all the locals' reactions. Because while the corpos are responsible for this planet, they clearly don't spend a lot of time here. They kind of leave them to do whatever they got to do.
Yeah, and
At which point
also
everyone's like, "Oh, the Blues are here. What the fuck's going on?"
it's those typical like town doesn't like law enforcement. It's like you know
Yeah,
that they're here because they're hired by the empire, and it's like they cause more issues than it is worth. We can manage ourselves. We don't need them, sort of
yeah.
thing. Um, then we go back to flashback again. Um,
Yes, we get another flashback. Um, this is when we find out it's a Republic ship because her comrades like the Republic are coming.
yeah,
We've got to get gone. Leave the kid, and she's like, no, they're going to kill the kid. We've got to take the kid with us. So this restored the timeline issue because my concern was this is 5 years for A New Hope, so this is
mhm,
like 14 years into the Empire's reign.
yeah,
We can't be expected to believe Cassian's like 25, 26, and there's no way he's older than like 12, 13
yeah.
in the flashbacks, which is why I thought Order 66 to start, because the downfall of the Republic was very believable. And it might be around that time, but we know it's while the
Yeah,
Republic is still a thing.
yeah.
Um,
It's those end of the Republic days, sort of thing.
yeah. And she basically said to her mate, no, we're saving the fucking kid. Um,
Yeah, and they put him on
Very
the ship,
honourable.
and like the whole takeoff, and it's like
Yeah.
sunrise.
Oh, no, that's a little bit later.
Oh, is that later on?
We see them walking towards the ship
Oh,
with
okay.
with him in her arms. Because I've got a point about that later, which I thought was very cool. Then we get lots of very fast-paced cuts, and if the fact with like the in-depth notes I have, the fact that I've written very fast-paced cuts, there was a fuck ton of just blah, 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 as we cut about all over the place, seeing all of the characters and friends we've met on Ferrex, seeing all of their reactions to the corpos arriving.
Yes.
Um, Obviously, Bix knows that the corpos are now here. And the corpos also arrive at Marava's house looking for Cassian.
Yes.
Um, we then have the corpos ransacking Marava's house, like destroying it.
You're looking for any
Then,
clue.
yeah. And then in block caps, I have corpos hurting B. Because they're like getting ready to like torture the fucking droid, which is not on.
Well, it's like they're searching the house and then they go, "Oh, we have someone else here," and they obviously come across the droid. And as they're trying to get information out of it, and it's not answering, so they're obviously going to like plug into it somewhere and get it to actually like
Yeah.
expel its data. To which then Cassian tests the fucking comm link.
Yeah.
Typical
So
bad timing.
Yeah, Cassian gets heard through the comm link he gave to B by the corpos. But he doesn't know there's a problem yet.
No.
All the corpos do is grab the comm link and use it to track the signal direction.
Well, they use their thing to kind of figure out
Yeah.
where the signal's coming from.
This is when the stranger and Cassian finally meet.
Yes.
And then what we do is we get a bit of back and forth about what's happening at the meeting and what the corpos are doing.
Yeah.
So we see the locals getting very angry with the corpos and their treatment of Morav.
Yeah, they're starting to build up around.
Yeah, because they're like, she's an old lady. She's just sat there and you're treating her like shit and throwing her about. What the fuck are you playing at?
Yeah, what are you doing in a house, sort of?
Because the corpos, they're thuggish cops.
Well,
They just walk around doing whatever the fuck they want. They think they're untouchable, and the locals don't fucking care.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just the locals being like sticking up for their neighbors and sort of thing.
Yeah. We then get to see a little bit of Cassian bartering with the stranger. Then we get the really big bit, in my opinion, which is where someone tells Binks, clearly one of their other friends, Salmon, tells Bix the corps are looking for Cassian. They know it's Cassian. They're not just here because they think a Canarian male is here. They're looking for Cassian.
Yeah, someone
At
else
which point,
that's
Tim,
close
like
to
a
them.
dumbass, accidentally exposed himself by just looking sheepish all of a sudden.
Yeah, and she's like, "What the hell have you done?"
Yeah.
To which he doesn't really even say exactly what he's done.
Yeah. she just pieces it together and she's
Yeah.
like, I can't fucking believe you. Then we get a really fun interaction between the stranger and Cassian, and like the stranger probing about how did you get such a valuable item? Like, are you the person who actually got this, or are you just a middleman, or is it fake? Are you just a forger? And then like the curiosity turns away from the actual product and purely onto Cassian.
So,
Almost like he doesn't give a fuck about the product.
well, yeah, this is like, I'm not here to tell you how I got it. Just, do you want to buy it? He's like, well, I'll pay you extra if you tell me how you got it. I think it was at this point where I'm like, okay, I have a feeling when he found out about the item, he cared less about the item and buying the item, more about who got it, because obviously it's a valuable asset to have for his cause.
So yeah, someone who can get hold of that is worth more than that itself.
Yeah, and that's why even with the corpos arriving sort of thing, he doesn't care because he knows this person's better in his hands than to get caught.
Now, I don't know
Mhm.
if the subtitles gave this away or if it was actually said. The subtitles gave his name as Lunther.
I don't think they say his name.
Okay, cool. So the subtitles gave it away then. Just for one line, it goes, Lunther mumbles, and it's him. So I refer to him as Lunther throughout. I don't know if that was a mistake and we're going to find out he's got a different name.
I don't know.
But as of now, I believe his name is Lunther. It sounds like a last name, not a first name. So yeah, Lunther's like, I want you. I don't give a fuck about the box. Come with me. I will get you out of here safely.
Yeah.
Just take my hand, essentially, kind of like Morpheus in the Matrix. It's like, just trust me.
Yeah. Like clearly kind of pushing that, look, I have a use for you that gets you out of this situation and gives you a purpose, but you just gotta trust me, sort of thing. Because I can't really tell you what. We haven't got time to explain it now, sort of situation.
Ironic. I thought you were saying that to me then.
And then isn't this when
This is when the first wave of corpos arrive at the facility.
yeah, and is this when they start smashing
Locking down the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all, and this leads to one of my like Star Wars for me, although it is just basic sci-fi in a lot of it, it always has these moments where it feels very thematic and dramatic and like a masterpiece. And this, like, the end of this episode is one of them times for me.
Yeah.
So we start getting everyone like beating on their bits of metal, like the drummer guy does. And that was teased in the previous episode. So all these themes come back around. And you've got all them banging it, and as like the next person hears it, they all start doing it, and everyone's making noise and noise and noise. And then all the businesses start pulling their shutters down, and they're just locking everything down, getting into safe positions because they're like, corpos are here, the shit is going sour quick, get somewhere safe.
Yeah, it's their own personal signal alarm system across the city that isn't like a corpo alarm system locked out. Like, it's their way of signaling corpos are here, everyone keep your head down because they're looking for people, sort of thing.
Lunther then shows how much of a fucking unit he is.
Oh,
So
yeah,
right now he's just been like this guy who's just lumbering about. I'm a businessman kind of vibe. And then he's like, oh yeah, there's bombs on that door. Boom. He's like, where does this go? Okay, and just all of a sudden he's like, bish bash, but he's like, no panic, calm, cool, collected. Decisions are being made. This is what we're doing. How do we get out of here?
Yeah. You see it that he ain't no rookie to the situation. Like there's a moment earlier where like you see him eye up that grate at the back, and obviously thinking about. I originally was like, is he weighing up whether this is where Cassian might try and run if he tries to pull a fast one or something? Obviously he's prepping for if they have to make a quick escape. And
Yeah,
then
you
yeah,
can see like from that moment he starts teaching Cassian. He's like, rule number one, you make your exit on your entry and stuff
yeah,
like that.
blows the
Um,
door up and
yeah,
then absolutely destroys the first wave of freaking guards.
yeah. And then we see Bix like running to try and help Cassian, we assume, and she kind
Yeah,
of
I'll
gets
go
like
warn
tackled
him.
by, yeah, she gets fucking tackled by a corpo, and they like beat shit out of her.
Well, they just
Um,
slam her into the wall.
yeah, and then Tim comes along because fucking Tim.
Well,
Um, and
fucking
she's
idiot.
handcuffed, and he's like, "What did you do to her?" He's like, "Stop where you are." He's like, "What did you do to her? Stay where you are." And they starts running at them. "What did you do to her?" And gets shot and dies because
Yeah,
Tim's a fucking dumbass.
but that also, do you not notice like he gets shot? And, yeah, dumb move by him. But then the guy that's like more so in charge of that squad, that little group, turns to one and he's like, "Give me the fucking rifle! Like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you so trigger happy?" Like,
Yeah.
bro, you're gonna get us in shit if you just start like opening fire on anybody and everybody.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Um,
and the
and
guy
then
with the
Bix
rifle
just
looks
gets,
scared.
yeah, he's just killed someone. Um, we see Bix just gets left handcuffed next
Yeah,
to Tim's body, which is
yeah,
fucking traumatizing.
yeah, brutal.
Um, and then the corpos start setting up an ambush for Cassian and Lunther. They're
Well,
like, okay, they've got to come this way. Let's set up.
they're panicking because he originally said like just hold the perimeter, and then he hears them say two
Not
officers
holding the
down.
perimeter.
Yeah, like there's and he hears the gunfire, and he's like, so they're freaking out. Then they get word that like, oh, they're coming your way, so they decide to set up an ambush. And why they thought like suck up corpo guy should be left on his own.
Yeah.
Hides himself in a building without the slightest fucking crack in a door. Um, so he
But
can.
wait. Before we get onto that bit,
Yeah.
trying to remember where you're going. My favorite bit of the entire thing was Marv's like monologue here. Because and this moment is actually where I became okay with it being 3 episodes.
Okay.
Because we know that this entire premise of the show is about like the true beginning of the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually see like a microcosm of the rebellion starting.
Yeah.
Because she's there like and like the soldiers are starting to get like annoyed by the constant dinging and dinging and
Yeah.
dinging. She's like, and this is it, you can hear it, people have had enough, they're fighting back, and you don't need to be scared now and get annoyed by the noise. You shouldn't be scared until it stops. And they're
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? And
And
then
then it
it all
stops.
stops stinging. And we get like a solid, like, probably isn't that long. It feels like 30 seconds, though, of just shots with no noise. And you're just like, oh shit. You feel that, like, feeling of this, something big is happening here. Um, and that's the whole point. This first 3 episodes of Andor was setting up the rest of the story.
Yeah.
As in, it's basically given them some microcosm of what to expect. This entire show is about rising up against the corporations and the empire that are ruining people's lives.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Um,
And like it helps, it adds tension to the scene because we've
mm,
gone from all this like fast paced, like loads of shit's going wrong, sort of essentially going wrong at the same time. Like they're they get pushed by the first group, the explosions going off, they're having their fight, all that like calamity, and them escaping. You've got Bix running and getting captured, and like all that, all the streets are locking themselves down, and then sudden silence and stillness just adds to the tension. And you see with the corpos, like the main guy picked up his rifle, like what the fuck's going on? Like suddenly
but
puts everyone so on edge.
also, what I found really interesting was that moment of silence. It went from the corpos are putting Cassine under pressure. It flips. In that moment of silence, it's like he's now got the upper hand. You guys don't know what's happening anymore, but I know everything now.
Yeah, it's that sudden like you're not in the right place, and
Mm-hmm.
you're
I have home field advantage.
yeah you now you're in the wrong place, and the city's turned on you, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
So we get Cassian behind Khan, I think his name was, but stuck up guy, baddie,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call him. Puts the gun to his head and he's like, information, give it to me.
Yeah.
And then you just have Lunther in the background, just like, fucking kill him. Kill that little bitch. Kill him. Blow his head off. I'll do it.
Which I think he was doing. Clearly, I read that as he was doing that on purpose to kind of be like good bad guy, but good cop, bad cop, to try and make him think, oh, he's gonna he's gonna shoot me. We know this guy has just murdered 2 people, so he's definitely willing to. So yeah, I'll tell him anything he needs.
Yeah, exactly. Then we get the first big moment of the tides turning in Cassian's favor, of that guy who got sent to the ship trying to take off.
Yes.
But I forget the guy's name. Basio.
Yeah, Basio.
Brasso.
We see him walking away. So we see, obviously, when all the banging started, like all the crew there started like leaving, and he was walking sort of in a different direction. And then we see him walking away from that ship, and we don't know why. You kind of put like, oh, he's probably sabotaged it in some way. And then, yeah, we see that guy who panicked.
Panicking, trying to take off. And there's a big fucking heap of scrap metal dragging it down. Gets caught in a crane. He fucking crashes into the crane and blows up.
Something I thought is like, they sold that very realistically of like, if, say, a helicopter was in that situation, of like how it would react to, as soon as it's lifted something heavy off the ground, it would yank it in a certain direction.
Yeah.
And then when it got caught, him trying to pull away from it actually just speeds him up to go round a corner into the building.
Exactly.
It felt very real.
Then we get
in the little garage.
Yeah.
They hear the explosion and like, that must have been one of ours.
Yeah,
how are they behind us?
Yeah, they're starting to get antsy because any little thing that doesn't go their way, they're now assuming is Cassian. But these little things are going wrong all over the place. So they're like, oh my God, he's everywhere. How is this possible? Kind of like genuine panic, like goons against Batman. Almost like, oh my God, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
So they get into their garage and they're like, okay, cool, let's make our escape. And then Cassian goes and like proper like action film style just goes, how many more of them charges do you have?
But showing that he's someone who he's had to get himself out of sticky situations before, so he has his own way of doing things as well.
Yeah. So they send out like a decoy speeder that's got all these explosives strapped to it. And obviously they all start fucking shooting at it off. They've just found your man tied up. The speeder goes past. They're like, there they are, get them, because he thinks he's smart.
Yeah.
So they all start shooting at it, and then it flips over.
And then they push up to it.
Ooh, we're awesome. Yeah, we got him. And then it goes boom, and the other speeder comes flying out and goes in the opposite direction.
Well, yeah, the speeder comes out, so they all turn to look at that, and then it gets blown up, and he turns back, and he's like got guys flying everywhere.
Yeah. And this is what I really enjoyed, this next little bit. So we get a bit of like a montage showing the aftermath for all the individual characters and like what they're dealing with. So we see Bix tied up, crying, Marv just in disbelief at what's happened. Yeah. And all of these different bits. But then the big thing for me was the duality of, we get the scene of young Cassian, Jesus Christ, getting put on the ship and waking up and seeing like taking off towards the sun, for the first time, and that's the start of his new life. And then we literally get like an identical scene of him in we see him in Lunther's ship as well.
Oh, so yeah, they got back to the ship and they took off, didn't they? Yeah.
And we see that taken off, and we see the sun coming through the screen on that, and once again him looking through at it, and it's literally showing that was the beginning of this life that he's been living, and now this is the beginning of his next life as a rebel.